in fuel. And with a simulator, there's always a second chance.
Beach is obscured due to fog. Coming in.
Susan Farrell, KUSI News.
That's our report for this half hour. I'm Bridgette Bornstein with news straight from America's hometowns. This is All News Channel.
There's a role for you in Peace Corps. It never really feels like work. You love what you're going through. You're helping people, you're working in the community, and people really appreciate you so much for every little bitty thing that you do.
It's fun.
Make a difference. Join the Peace Corps. It's the toughest job you'll ever love.
This is All News Channel.
Now, news straight from America's hometowns. This is All News Channel.
A tearful return as the wounded come home. Survivors of the deadly explosion that tore through the USS Cole arrive back on U.S. soil. And that's our top story. Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Bridgette Bornstein. Family members, fellow sailors, and a military band greeted the 33 wounded crew members as they arrived in Norfolk, Virginia. They are the first of the sailors injured in last week's deadly bombing in Yemen to come home. 33 of the sailors injured aboard the USS Cole landed at the Norfolk Naval Air Base Sunday evening. After an emotional yet joyous reunion with family, the group was quickly whisked off to Portsmouth Naval Hospital.
We will be reevaluating them today, as I said, establishing their groundings here with their family, looking at the recommendations, and we'll make that determination in the morning.
Injuries ranged from fractured ribs and collapsed lungs to multiple fractures and facial burns. The hospital has been preparing for the arrival for more than 24 hours. A ward has been set aside specifically for the injured sailors and their families.
Most of the patients are ambulatory patients. All of them have been treated at other facilities and have had the immediate concerns taken care of. Any of those that had more serious injuries will arrive probably later on in the week.
Doctors say the healing process will take care of more than just the physical injuries.
We're putting them together in one place. Their families are going to be close by. Our sprint team is available. Our chaplain corps is going to be around, as well as all our psychological and psychiatric people are going to be here.
6 other injured crew members remain hospitalized at a military medical center in Germany. Earlier Sunday, the sailors that remained back on the USS Cole paused to honor their 17 shipmates killed in last week's explosion. Afterwards, divers and FBI agents resumed their search for clues to the attack, which U.S. authorities believe was the work of suicide bombers. So far, there have been no credible claims of responsibility for the attack. President Clinton's advisors say Monday's emergency Mideast summit will be a salvage job. President Clinton was briefed by Secretary of State Madeleine Albright and National Security Advisor Sandy Berger before leaving for the Middle East. The president's primary goal for the summit is to end the violence that has claimed nearly 100 lives. Israeli and Palestinian leaders say the talks won't solve anything. At least one person is dead in northwest Italy after days of unrelenting rain and floods. A 7-year-old girl was killed when she was swept away by an overflowing river. 3,000 people have had to leave their homes. 24 inches of rain have fallen over 2 days near Italy's borders with France and Switzerland. Chevron has reportedly agreed to purchase Texaco for $35.1 billion. That would create the world's 4th largest oil company. The Wall Street Journal reported that a deal could require the companies to sell thousands of gas stations. Last summer, a similar deal between Chevron and Texaco unraveled after Texaco rejected Chevron's offer. Thousands of women marched through the streets of Washington, D.C. on Sunday to protest against world poverty and the mistreatment of women. The rally drew women from all around the world. On Tuesday, a group will present UN Secretary General Kofi Annan with petitions signed by 2 million people seeking an end to violence against women. This week in the nation's capital, remembering the Million Man March 5 years later with the Million Family March. Congress will try to agree on some issues so lawmakers can go home and campaign. And it's the final showdown between the presidential candidates. All News Channel's Shiloh Woolman reports.
And say to each other, I love you, my brother.
5 years ago, nearly 1 million men descended on Washington to make a new commitment to themselves and their families. Monday, Nation of Islam leader Minister Louis Farrakhan marks the anniversary with the Million Family March. He's calling on all faiths and all colors to unite. The controversial minister is reaching out to diverse groups for support, including the Unification Church.
There is going to be a cataclysmic eruption in our nation when they see Minister Louis Farrakhan and Father Sung Young Moon standing together and working together to bring this nation to the point of becoming family.
Organizers believe as many as 1.5 million people will gather on the National Mall for Monday's march. On Tuesday, the race for the White House goes to a final showdown in St. Louis. Al Gore and George W. Bush sketched their visions of the future in a town hall-style meeting moderated by Jim Lehrer. With just 3 weeks to go before the election, Congress is stuck in Washington. The House and Senate are still haggling over spending priorities, but hope to wrap up by Friday so members can get home to campaign. A number of contentious issues remain, including prescription drug coverage and education spending. In Washington, I'm Shiloh Woolman reporting.
Next on All News Channel, we have an update to report in the LA transit workers' strike. And if you're not quite ready for the real thing, how about a cyber pet? That's coming up in our Technotainment report.
Do you believe a dynamic market in the new millennium? This valuable information is free, so don't wait. Call today.
Astronauts from Space Shuttle Discovery have wired up the International Space Station's latest addition. 2 astronauts have hooked up power and data cables between a new aluminum framework and the space station. This was the first of 4 spacewalks planned for this mission. Negotiators in the Los Angeles transit strike are making some progress. The Reverend Jesse Jackson is acting as mediator, shuttling between the 2 sides. He joined the negotiation process Friday and set a Monday deadline for resolving the month-long bus and rail operators' strike.
Everybody is engulfed in the transportation struggle. So the burden is up on us to stay here, and we're going to stay.
The 30-day strike has stranded nearly 500,000 LA commuters who rely on public transportation. More than 110,000 Phoenix commuters will also need to find another ride to work this week. Bus drivers in that city went on strike on Sunday. Their union rejected the Phoenix Transit System's latest contract on Saturday. Talks broke down over health insurance and pension plans. The walkout shuts down 45 bus routes in Phoenix and Scottsdale. So far, no negotiation meetings are scheduled. Sunday morning, drivers had to fight a rather unusual form of traffic in Massachusetts. This plane had just taken off when it had mechanical problems. The pilot brought it down on the turnpike near Westboro, ending up on the side of the road. The plane hit 1 car as it came in, but the driver of the car managed to safely steer out of the way. No one was hurt, but traffic was backed up while crews tried to figure out how to get the plane out of the way. 4 Republican members of Congress are promoting legislation that would force schools and libraries to use internet filtering software that blocks pornography. Under the proposal, any school or library that didn't install the software would lose federal dollars earmarked for web access. Opponents say the filters are imperfect and frequently fail to block pornography. A final vote on the bill is expected this week. In this week's Technotainment, we look at the video game version of a kids' TV show, web surfing on the telephone, and the latest cyber pet. Here's All News Channel's John Vincent.
The parade of robot dogs is continuing this fall. The latest battery-operated pup comes from Fisher-Price. It's called Rocket, the robotic puppy. Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon, was on hand for Rocket's arrival at FAO Schwartz.
And toy companies like Fisher-Price continue to surprise me with the application of technologies that enhance children's play, and sparks young imaginations. It's an exciting time to be a kid.
Wait, was that a cue card? Let's look at that again. Aw, Buzz. Anyway, back to the dog. It's cool. It does tricks and responds to voice commands. At $120, it's not the cheapest robotic mutt, but it is a lot cheaper than some. You ever wanted to get your internet information like sports scores and movie reviews, but you're away from your computer? Well, there's a growing number of companies moving to fill that desire, and here's two: tellme.com and bevocal.com. Both offer a good selection of news, weather, and other content. You simply dial a toll-free number and use voice commands to navigate the system. Now, it must be a good idea. Both Yahoo and America Online are scrambling to develop phone delivery systems of their own.
I know you're probably not used to talking to a hawk, but there's a bunch of things in my world that you've never seen before.
Never seen unless you're a fan of the show Animorphs. In that case, you're probably used to the idea of teenagers that can change into different animals and are trying to repel an alien invasion. That's the mental challenge of the Animorph game, picking the right animal to balance your power and speed. It takes a little more brains than your typical fight game, but doesn't look a whole lot different. With This Week in Technotainment, I'm John Vincent reporting.
Meet the Parents hangs on to #1. The Ben Stiller, Robert De Niro comedy took the box office top spot for the second weekend in a row. As we break, here's a look at other movies topping the list.
These or previous by now the Picture Bible. That's 1-800-908-6655.
Time now for a look at our top stories. Sailors wounded by the explosion aboard the USS Cole are back home in Virginia. They were greeted by hundreds of cheering family members before heading to the hospital. No one seems to have high expectations for the emergency meeting in Egypt between the Israelis and the Palestinians. President Clinton says his primary goal is to end the violence. And Chevron has reportedly agreed to buy Texaco for $35.1 billion. If the deal goes through, the combined company would be the fourth largest oil company in the world. Now a check on the weather.
Hello, everyone. I'm meteorologist Mike LaPointe with a look at the weather across for the next 8 to 10 hours. And pretty quiet right now down toward the southeastern half of the U.S. Monday afternoon, we do have a stalled out front moving through the Mississippi Valley down through the southern plains. A few scattered showers and thunderstorms in the forecast for eastern parts of Texas Monday afternoon. Pretty quiet in the northern plains, and again, a few showers not out of the question for the folks up in Seattle and Portland. High temperatures on Monday will be mainly in the 50s and 60s up toward the Pacific Northwest, some 70s down toward California, and most of the southeast will see temperatures in the 70s and 80s. That is your national weather. Have a great day.
Wally's in with a look at sports. I know we've got some football from Sunday to talk about, but you're going to start with baseball?
First, starting with baseball, and the Mariners had to get a victory or they were out, and they got one. After scoring just 5 runs in the first 4 games of the American League Championship.
you have a headache, huh? That's there. One at a time.
Stick out your tongue. Oh, good job. All right. 3.